The journey through space was anything but smooth. The Odyssey had barely entered the asteroid belt when its systems began to show signs of strain. Navigating through the dense field of floating rocks required precision and constant adjustments. Daniel Hayes, the navigator, spent hours at his station, plotting courses that avoided collisions while keeping the ship on track toward the black hole. His hands moved swiftly over the controls, sweat beading on his forehead as he guided the spacecraft through narrow gaps between massive boulders. Sarah Brooks, the chief engineer, worked tirelessly alongside him, monitoring the ship's engines and structural integrity. Every impact, no matter how small, sent vibrations rippling through the hull. Sarah knew that even a minor breach could spell disaster. She ran diagnostics repeatedly, making sure every system functioned perfectly. Her sharp eyes caught potential issues before they became real problems, earning her quiet respect from the rest of the crew. Still, the stress weighed heavily on her. Late at night, she often found herself staring at schematics, wondering if she'd missed something crucial. Tensions among the crew began to rise as fatigue set in. Arguments broke out over resource allocation. Food, water, fuel, and even sleep schedules became points of contention. One particularly heated exchange occurred between Sarah and Daniel after a close call with an asteroid forced them to reroute abruptly. "We can't keep burning fuel like this," Sarah snapped, slamming her hand on the console. "Every detour puts us closer to running out." "And what do you want me to do?" Daniel shot back, his voice rising. "Fly straight into a rock? That'll solve all our problems." Rachel Carter stepped in before the argument escalated further. "Enough," she said firmly, her tone leaving no room for debate. "We're all tired, but we don't have time for infighting. Focus on your jobs, or none of us will make it home." Her words silenced the room, though the underlying tension remained. Everyone felt the pressure mounting. They were alone in the vastness of space, carrying the weight of humanity's survival on their shoulders. The isolation gnawed at them, making tempers flare more easily than usual. Amidst the chaos, Ethan Cole, the medical officer, struggled to keep morale high. He walked the corridors of the ship, checking in on each crew member individually. Some welcomed his visits. Others brushed him off, preferring solitude. Despite the resistance, Ethan persisted. He understood that mental health was just as important as physical health, especially under these conditions. During one of his rounds, he stopped by Rachel's quarters. She sat hunched over her desk, surrounded by papers covered in equations and graphs. "You look like you haven't slept in days," Ethan remarked gently. "I haven't," Rachel admitted without looking up. "There's too much to figure out. We're getting closer to the black hole, and I still don't know if this plan will work." Ethan pulled up a chair beside her. "It's okay to feel overwhelmed. You're only human." Rachel chuckled bitterly. "That's exactly the problem, isn't it? If we fail, billions of lives are at stake. Being only human doesn't give us much room for error." Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "But being human also means we never stop trying. Remember why we're here, to prove that we can face the impossible." His words lingered in Rachel's mind long after he left. She returned to her calculations with renewed determination, reminding herself that giving up wasn't an option. As the Odyssey continued its perilous journey, another challenge emerged. One far stranger than anyone anticipated. While analyzing data from the faint signal Rachel had detected earlier, she noticed patterns within the transmission. At first glance, the signal appeared random, but upon closer inspection, mathematical sequences began to emerge. These weren't natural phenomena. They bore the hallmarks of intelligent design. Rachel called Liam Harper into the lab to share her findings. Together they studied the data, piecing together fragments of information. It became clear that the signal contained warnings about the very black hole threatening Earth. Whoever or whatever had sent it seemed to understand the danger better than humanity did. "This changes everything," Liam said, his voice tinged with both awe and apprehension. "If there's someone, or something, out there, trying to communicate, we need to investigate." "But how?" Rachel asked. "We're already stretched thin. Diverging from our course could cost us precious time. Liam nodded thoughtfully. Time we may not have. But ignoring this could mean missing vital information. What if the key to stopping the black hole lies in understanding that signal? After much deliberation, the decision was made to alter the ship's trajectory slightly, aiming for the source of the transmission. The risk was significant. If the signal turned out to be a trap or led them astray, the mission could fail entirely. Yet the possibility of gaining critical knowledge outweighed the dangers. With Daniel recalibrating navigation protocols and Sarah ensuring the ship's systems remained stable, the Odyssey veered off its original path. Days passed as they approached the origin point of the signal. The crew prepared for the unknown, arming themselves with tools and equipment designed for exploration. Excitement mingled with fear as anticipation built. Would they find allies, enemies, or perhaps nothing at all? Finally, the moment arrived. Through the viewport, a shimmering object materialized, a vessel unlike anything they'd ever seen. Its surface gleamed with iridescent colors, shifting and pulsating as though alive. There were no visible thrusters or mechanical components. Instead, the craft seemed organic, almost fluid in form. "Is that a ship?" Sarah whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "It has to be," Liam replied, his gaze fixed on the spectacle before them. "And it's coming from inside the black hole's accretion disk. How is that even possible?" Before anyone could answer, communication channels crackled to life. A voice, deep, resonant, and otherworldly, spoke in fragmented tones. Rachel immediately recognized elements of the signal embedded within the transmission. Working quickly, she devised a rudimentary translation algorithm, feeding the alien language into the ship's computer. When coherent words finally emerged, the message sent chills down everyone's spines. "You are not alone. We have waited long for someone brave enough to listen." The crew exchanged stunned glances. For the first time since embarking on their mission, they realized they weren't facing the universe's wrath alone. Somewhere out there, another consciousness existed, one that might hold the answers they so desperately sought. But as Captain Liam Harper reminded himself, trust must be earned, and earning it would require courage, diplomacy, and perhaps sacrifices none of them were ready to make. In the year 2147, humanity found itself staring into the abyss of extinction. A massive black hole, drifting silently through space, was on a collision course with Earth's solar system. For decades, scientists had observed it from afar, dismissing it as a distant curiosity that posed no immediate threat. But now, calculations confirmed the unthinkable. Within 5 years, the black hole's immense gravitational pull would destabilize the orbits of planets, throwing the entire solar system into chaos. Life on Earth would become impossible. Panic spread across the globe as governments scrambled to find solutions, but none seemed viable. The task of stopping a black hole, a force of nature so powerful that not even light could escape its grasp, seemed beyond the realm of possibility. Among the many species scattered across the galaxy, humans were the only ones who believed they could do something about it. To everyone else, the idea was laughable. Alien civilizations, far older and more advanced than humanity, watched with detached amusement. They had long accepted that black holes were untouchable forces of destruction, governed by laws of physics too complex to manipulate. "Let them try," one alien ambassador said during a Galactic Council meeting. "They'll fail like every other species before them." Yet, deep in their hearts, some humans clung to hope. Hope was what set them apart. Where others saw impossibility, humans saw opportunity, and so, against all odds, they decided to act. At the center of this desperate mission stood Dr. Rachel Carter, an astrophysicist known for her unconventional ideas. Rachel had spent most of her career studying gravitational anomalies and theorizing ways to manipulate them. Her work often drew criticism from colleagues who dismissed her ideas as impractical or overly ambitious. But Rachel didn't care. She believed that humanity's survival depended on thinking outside the box, When the black hole crisis emerged, she was among the first to volunteer for the mission. Her theories about creating artificial singularities, miniature, black holes that could counteract larger ones, had been deemed too risky to test on Earth. Now, however, there was no time for caution. It was either take the risk or face certain doom. Joining Rachel was Captain Liam Harper, a seasoned astronaut and leader of NASA's Interstellar Exploration Program. Unlike Rachel, Liam approached the mission with a pragmatic mindset. He valued careful planning and calculated risks over reckless experimentation. Yet he respected Rachel's brilliance and recognized the importance of her ideas. Together, they formed an unlikely partnership, balancing each other's strengths and weaknesses. Their shared goal was clear: save Earth, no matter the cost. To carry out their plan, humanity built the Odyssey, a state-of-the-art spacecraft unlike anything ever constructed. Equipped with cutting-edge technology, including experimental devices designed to generate controlled gravitational fields, the Odyssey represented humanity's last hope. Its crew consisted of 12 individuals, each chosen for their unique skills and unwavering determination. Among them was Sarah Brooks, the ship's chief engineer, whose expertise in propulsion systems made her indispensable. Then there was Daniel Hayes, the navigator, whose sharp instincts and quick thinking had saved countless missions in the past. Rounding out the team was Ethan Cole, the medical officer tasked with keeping everyone physically and mentally fit during the perilous journey. As the launch date approached, tensions ran high. Many doubted whether the Odyssey's untested technology would hold up under the extreme conditions near the black hole. Others questioned whether humanity should even attempt such a dangerous mission. Critics argued that resources would be better spent preparing for evacuation or colonization efforts on distant planets. But Rachel and Liam refused to give up. They reminded everyone that humanity had overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges before. From landing on the moon to curing deadly diseases, history proved that when people worked together, anything was possible. On the day of the launch, millions gathered around screens worldwide to watch the Odyssey lift off. As the engines roared to life and the spacecraft ascended into the sky, cheers erupted from the crowd. For a brief moment, fear gave way to optimism. Perhaps, just perhaps, humanity really could pull off the impossible. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy. The black hole lay billions of miles away, hidden behind treacherous regions of space filled with asteroid belts, cosmic radiation storms, and unpredictable gravitational waves. Every step of the way would test the limits of both the crew and their technology. Yet, as the Odyssey disappeared into the vast expanse of space, Rachel couldn't help but feel a glimmer of excitement. This wasn't just a mission. It was a chance to prove that humanity's greatest strength lay not in its tools or weapons, but in its spirit, the unyielding belief that no challenge was too great to overcome. Inside the spacecraft, the mood was tense but focused. Sarah double-checked the engine diagnostics while Daniel plotted the safest route through the asteroid belt ahead. Ethan distributed emergency rations and reviewed contingency plans with the crew. Meanwhile, Rachel and Liam pored over data simulations, fine-tuning the parameters for the artificial singularity generator. Each member of the team knew the stakes. Failure meant not just their deaths, but the end of life as they knew it on Earth. As the hours turned into days, the enormity of their mission began to sink in. Conversations grew quieter, replaced by moments of quiet reflection. Some crew members wrote letters to loved ones, unsure if they'd ever return home. Others simply stared out the windows at the endless void of space, pondering the fragility of existence. Despite the weight of their responsibility, a sense of camaraderie developed among the group. They joked, shared stories, and supported one another, finding solace in the knowledge that they weren't alone. One evening, as the Odyssey approached the edge of the asteroid belt, Rachel noticed something unusual on her monitor. Amidst the swirling debris, a faint signal flickered intermittently. At first, she thought it might be interference from the ship's instruments, but as she analyzed the data further, she realized it was something else entirely, a pattern, rhythmic and deliberate, emanating from somewhere beyond the black hole. Her heart raced as she called Liam over to take a look. "What do you think it is?" Liam asked, his brow furrowed in concentration. "I'm not sure," Rachel admitted, "but it doesn't seem natural. It could be intelligent." The discovery sparked a mix of excitement and unease among the crew. If the signal came from another civilization, what did it mean? Were they friend or foe? Or worse, could the black hole itself somehow be sentient? These questions lingered in the air as the Odyssey pressed onward, driven by a combination of curiosity and necessity. For Rachel and Liam, the signal reinforced their resolve. Humanity wasn't alone in facing adversity. It simply tackled problems differently. While others saw obstacles, humans saw opportunities. And though the road ahead remained uncertain, one thing was clear. They wouldn't stop until they succeeded, or died trying. The encounter with the mysterious vessel left the crew of the Odyssey, both awestruck and uneasy. The shimmering craft hovered silently outside their window, its surface pulsating with colors that seemed to shift in rhythm with some unseen force. Inside the ship, the air was thick with tension as everyone processed what they had just heard. A voice, speaking in broken but intelligible tones, claiming not to be alone and hinting at knowledge humanity desperately needed. Rachel Carter worked feverishly at her station, refining the translation algorithm she had created. Each new fragment of the alien language brought them closer to understanding the full message. Beside her, Emily Dawson, her assistant, monitored data streams flowing from the ship's sensors. Together, they pieced together snippets of information, slowly unraveling the meaning behind the transmission. "It's talking about survival," Rachel said aloud, her eyes scanning lines of translated text. "They're warning us about the black hole." "Warning us how?" Liam Harper asked, leaning over her shoulder. His voice carried a mix of curiosity and urgency. "They say it's not just a natural phenomenon," Rachel explained. "It's growing, feeding on energy from nearby stars. If we don't stop it, it'll consume everything in its path, including Earth." Liam frowned. "But why warn us now? Why wait until it's almost too late?" Rachel hesitated, then pointed to another line of text. "Because they've seen this before. Their civilization, whatever it was destroyed by the same black hole thousands of years ago." The room fell silent as the weight of her words sank in. The aliens weren't just observers. They were survivors, or rather, descendants of those who hadn't survived. They had been trapped inside the black hole's accretion disk, unable to escape, and had spent millennia sending out warnings to anyone who might listen. Now, humanity had answered their call. As the translation progressed, more details emerged. The Caliph, as they called themselves, described the black hole as a living entity, an ancient remnant of a collapsed star that somehow retained traces of consciousness. It didn't think or feel like humans did, but it acted according to instinct, consuming matter and energy to sustain itself. The Caliph believed it could be stopped, but only through methods so dangerous that no one had dared attempt them. "They're saying we need to create a counterforce," Rachel explained, her voice trembling slightly. "Something strong enough to disrupt the black hole's gravitational pull and collapse it inward." "That sounds familiar," Liam muttered dryly. "Isn't that exactly what we're trying to do with the singularity generator?" Rachel nodded. "Yes, but they're suggesting modifications, things we hadn't considered. If we adjust the frequency of the energy pulses, we might be able to destabilize the black hole faster." Sarah Brooks, overhearing the conversation, stepped forward. "Modifications? You mean messing with equipment we barely understand in the first place?" "It's risky," Rachel admitted. "But if it works..." "We don't have a choice," Liam interrupted firmly. "If the Caliph are right, this could give us the edge we need. Sarah, I want you and Daniel to review the generator specs and see what changes we can make safely." Sarah sighed, but didn't argue. She knew Liam was right. Time wasn't on their side, and hesitation would only bring failure. With a nod, she headed back to engineering, leaving Rachel and Liam to continue deciphering the alien message. Meanwhile, communications between the Odyssey and the Caliph vessel intensified. Through trial and error, Rachel established a rudimentary dialogue exchanging basic concepts and ideas. The Caliph were cautious, wary of trusting these fragile beings who had appeared so suddenly. Yet, they couldn't deny the courage it took for humanity to confront such a threat head-on. One of the Caliph representatives introduced himself as Aaron, his presence manifested as a holographic projection aboard the Odyssey, his form resembling a swirling mass of light and shadow. Though he lacked physical features, his tone conveyed intelligence and authority. "You are either incredibly brave or profoundly foolish," Aaron remarked during one exchange. "No other species has dared attempt what you propose." "We don't have the luxury of doing nothing," Liam replied evenly. "If there's even a chance we can succeed, we have to take it." Aaron paused, as though considering his words. Finally, he spoke again. "Very well, we will assist you. But know this, your plan carries great risk. The process may destroy your vessel, and yourselves." The blunt honesty of his statement sent a chill through the crew. No one had expected the Caliph to sugarcoat the truth, but hearing it so plainly made the stakes painfully clear. Still, there was no turning back now. Humanity had come too far to abandon the mission. With the Caliph's guidance, Rachel and Emily refined the parameters for the singularity generator. The modifications required precise adjustments to the energy output and pulse frequency. Every calculation mattered. Even a fraction of a second's delay could mean the difference between success and catastrophe. In engineering, Sarah and Daniel worked tirelessly to implement the changes. The generator itself was housed in a reinforced module attached to the underside of the Odyssey. Accessing it meant suiting up for extravehicular activity, EVA, navigating the cold vacuum of space while tethered to the ship. It was dangerous work, but necessary. "You sure about this?" Daniel asked as he double-checked Sarah's oxygen levels before she stepped into the airlock. "No," she admitted with a wry smile. "But since when does that stop us?" Once outside, Sarah moved carefully along the hull, guiding herself toward the generator module. Her gloved hands worked deftly, rewiring circuits and recalibrating components according to the updated specs. Inside the ship, Daniel monitored her progress via helmet cam, offering instructions and encouragement. Back in the lab, Rachel and Emily prepared for the next phase of communication with the Caliph. Using the data provided by Aaron, they fine-tuned the generator's targeting system, ensuring it would lock onto the black hole's core with pinpoint accuracy. The slightest miscalculation could send the energy pulses scattering harmlessly or, worse, redirect them back toward the Odyssey. As hours turned into days, the crew pushed themselves to their limits. Fatigue became a constant companion, but no one complained. They knew what was at stake. Even Ethan Cole, usually focused on keeping others healthy, pitched in where he could, running supplies and assisting with minor repairs. Morale remained fragile, held together by sheer determination and the unspoken bond they shared. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the preparations were complete. The Odyssey drifted closer to the black hole, its massive event horizon looming like a gaping maw ready to swallow them whole. On board, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation and dread. Everyone gathered in the command center, staring at the monitors displaying real-time telemetry. "This is it," Liam said quietly, addressing the crew. "Everything we've done has led to this moment. Whether we succeed or fail, history will remember us, not because we gave up, but because we tried." Rachel glanced at him, her expression resolute. "And maybe," she added softly, "we'll prove that being human isn't about perfection. It's about hope." As the countdown began, the Odyssey positioned itself near the edge of the event horizon. The singularity generator hummed to life, emitting pulses of energy designed to disrupt the black hole's gravitational field. For a fleeting moment, everything seemed to go according to plan. Then alarms blared, signaling unstable feedback loops threatening to overload the system. Sarah and Daniel sprang into action, improvising repairs mid-operation. Rachel coordinated with Aaron, adjusting frequencies in real time. Ethan monitored power levels, praying the ship's reserves wouldn't run dry. Chaos reigned, but amidst the frenzy, something remarkable happened. The impossible started to feel possible. Through sheer grit and ingenuity, the crew held on, refusing to let despair win. The battle against the black hole was far from over, but for the first time they allowed themselves to believe victory might be within reach. The alarms continued to blare as the Odyssey teetered on the brink of disaster. The singularity generator, now fully operational, emitted powerful pulses of energy aimed directly at the black hole's core. On the monitors, streams of data flickered wildly, showing fluctuations in gravitational forces that threatened to tear the spacecraft apart. Everyone aboard worked with frantic precision, their movements a blur of determination and desperation. Sarah Brooks and Daniel Hayes were outside the ship again, tethered to the hull as they struggled to stabilize the generator. Inside its reinforced module, circuits sparked and components overheated under the immense strain. Sarah's gloved hands moved quickly, rerouting power lines and replacing damaged parts. Her breath came in short bursts inside her helmet, fogging the visor slightly. But she didn't slow down. "Hold steady," Daniel called from inside the ship, his voice crackling over the comms. "I'm feeding you new diagnostics." "I see it," Sarah replied, her tone clipped but calm. She tightened a connection and gave the module a firm tap with her wrench, hoping the jolt would reset the system. For a moment, the generator stabilized, its hum growing steadier. But the relief was fleeting. Moments later, another surge of feedback sent sparks flying once more. Back inside the command center, Rachel, Carter and Emily Dawson worked side by side, fine-tuning the energy frequencies based on real-time input from the Caliph. Aaron's holographic form hovered nearby, offering guidance in his deep, resonant voice. "The harmonics must align perfectly," Aaron warned. "Any deviation risks destabilizing the process further." Rachel nodded, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she adjusted the settings. Sweat dripped down her temples, but she ignored it, focusing entirely on the task at hand. Emily monitored the readings, calling out updates whenever anomalies appeared. "We're almost there," Emily said, her voice tight with tension. "Just a little more adjustment." Captain Liam Harper stood at the center of the chaos, coordinating efforts and keeping everyone focused. His eyes darted between the crew members, ensuring no one faltered under the pressure. He knew that even the smallest mistake could doom them all. "Stay sharp," he reminded them, his voice firm but reassuring. "We've come too far to lose it now." Despite the danger, a sense of unity filled the room. Each person understood their role and trusted the others to do theirs. Even Ethan Cole, who had been monitoring the crew's physical and mental health throughout the mission, joined in where needed, fetching tools or relaying messages. No one hesitated to lend a hand, no matter how small the contribution. Outside, Sarah finally managed to secure the last of the repairs. She signaled to Daniel, who confirmed the generator's stability. "It's holding for now," he announced, relief evident in his voice. But the victory was short-lived. As the pulses of energy intensified, the black hole began reacting violently. Its event horizon shimmered like liquid fire, distorting space around it in ways that defied comprehension. Gravitational waves rippled outward, buffeting the Odyssey and threatening to pull it closer. "We're losing altitude," Daniel shouted, gripping his console tightly. "Engines are straining to compensate." Liam turned to Sarah, who had just re-entered the ship after completing her EVA. "Can we boost thrust without damaging the generator?" Sarah hesitated, running calculations in her head. "Maybe, but it's risky. If we push too hard, we could overload both systems." "Do it," Liam ordered without hesitation. "We don't have a choice." Sarah relayed the instructions to Ethan, who assisted her in rerouting engine power while maintaining stability for the generator. The ship groaned under the added strain, metal creaking ominously as it fought against the black hole's pull. Yet somehow the Odyssey held together, inching farther away from the edge of destruction. Meanwhile, Rachel and Emily continued their delicate balancing act with the energy frequencies. With Aaron's help, they identified a critical harmonic, resonance point, a specific frequency that, if matched precisely, could amplify the generator's effects exponentially. It was a gamble, but one they had to take. "This is it," Rachel whispered, her finger hovering over the final control. If we get this wrong, we won't, Emily interrupted firmly. Trust yourself. Taking a deep breath, Rachel activated the adjustment. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly but surely, the black hole began to shrink. Its swirling mass contracted inward, the violent distortions calming as the generator's energy disrupted its core. "It's working," Liam exclaimed, disbelief mixing with triumph in his voice. "Keep it steady." The entire crew erupted into cheers, their exhaustion momentarily forgotten. Tears streamed down Rachel's face as she watched the black hole collapse before their eyes. After months of preparation, sacrifice, and sheer willpower, they had done the impossible. Humanity had faced the greatest threat in its history and prevailed, but the celebration was cut short as reality set in. The Odyssey's systems were failing rapidly, power reserves dwindled, life support faltered, and structural damage accumulated from the earlier strain. The ship wouldn't survive much longer. Liam gathered the crew for one final transmission to Earth. Standing before the camera, he spoke with quiet resolve, his words carrying the weight of their journey. "To those who come after us," he began, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation, "know that we stood together when the universe tested us. We proved that no challenge is insurmountable, not even the void itself." Rachel stepped forward next, her voice trembling but unwavering. "Remember us not as martyrs but as dreamers who refuse to give up. Tell our story so that future generations may carry the torch of hope." As the transmission ended, the crew shared a somber moment of silence. They knew what awaited them, drifting into the endless void of space until their supplies ran out. Yet, there was no regret. They had accomplished what no one thought possible, saving billions of lives in the process. Aaron's hologram flickered briefly before solidifying once more. "You have earned our respect," he said solemnly. "Though your vessel perishes, your legacy will endure among the stars." With that, the Caliph vessel departed, leaving the Odyssey to its fate. As the lights dimmed and the ship grew quieter, the crew huddled together, finding comfort in each other's presence. Outside, the black hole vanished completely, its threat forever extinguished. In the end, it wasn't just about survival. It was about proving that humanity's greatest strength lay in its ability to dream, to hope, and to never stop trying. And though the Odyssey would soon be gone, its story would live on, inspiring countless others to believe that only humans believed it was possible, and they succeeded. The Odyssey drifted silently through the void, its systems failing one by one. The crew gathered in the dimly lit command center, their faces illuminated only by the faint glow of emergency lights. Power reserves were nearly depleted, and the ship's life support systems struggled to maintain breathable air. Despite the dire circumstances, there was a quiet sense of peace among them. They had done what no one thought possible. They had saved Earth. Now, as they faced the inevitable end of their journey, they found solace in knowing that their sacrifice would not be in vain. Captain Liam Harper stood at the center of the room, his posture straight despite the exhaustion etched into his features. He looked around at his crew, each person who had given everything to make this mission a success. Sarah Brooks sat slumped in her chair, her hands resting on her knees, while Daniel Hayes leaned against a console staring blankly at the floor. Ethan Cole moved quietly between them, checking oxygen levels and offering words of reassurance, though even he knew there was little left to do. Rachel Carter and Emily Dawson remained side by side, their eyes fixed on the monitors that still displayed remnants of data from the black hole's collapse. "We've done something extraordinary," Liam began, breaking the silence. His voice was soft but carried a weight that demanded attention. "We've proven that humanity can face the impossible and win. But now, we have to accept the cost." No one spoke. The truth hung heavy in the air. The Odyssey was dying. And with it, so were they. Yet instead of despair, there was an unspoken understanding, a shared belief that their lives had meaning because of what they had achieved. Rachel finally broke the silence. "I don't regret it," she said, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. If I had to do it all over again, I would. We gave Earth a future. Emily nodded in agreement. It's not about how long we live. It's about what we leave behind. People will remember us for this, for saving billions. Sarah let out a shaky laugh. I just wish I could see my family one last time. Tell them I'm sorry I won't be coming home. Ethan placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. They'll know, he said gently. They'll know you did everything you could to protect them. Daniel cleared his throat, his usual confidence replaced by vulnerability. You know, I always thought missions like this were crazy. Risking your life for something bigger than yourself. Seemed reckless, but now, I get it, there's honor in it, dignity. Liam smiled faintly. That's why we're here. Not because we wanted glory or fame, but because someone had to step up, and we chose to be those people. As the conversation continued, the crew reflected on their journey, the challenges they'd overcome, the bonds they'd formed, and the hope they'd carried with them every step of the way. Each person had played a vital role, and together, they had accomplished the unimaginable. Even in their final hours, they found strength in their unity. Outside the ship, the stars shone brightly against the endless expanse of space. The black hole was gone, its threat erased, leaving behind only emptiness where once there had been chaos. For a brief moment, the universe seemed quieter, calmer, as if acknowledging the bravery of those aboard the Odyssey. Back inside, Rachel pulled up one last set of readings on her monitor. Though the generator had succeeded in collapsing the black hole, residual energy lingered in the surrounding area. She showed the data to Liam, pointing out fluctuations that suggested lingering gravitational waves. It's fading, she explained, but it'll take some time for the effects to fully dissipate. If anyone else comes near here, they should proceed with caution. Liam nodded. Good thinking. Let's include that in our final report. Together, the crew worked on compiling a comprehensive transmission to send back to Earth. They included detailed logs of their mission, technical specifications of the singularity generator, and warnings about the region of space they occupied. They also added personal messages, letters to loved ones, reflections on their experiences, and expressions of gratitude for being part of something greater than themselves. Ethan volunteered to stay behind in the medical bay to monitor the ship's remaining systems remotely. With limited power, he ensured that communications remained active long enough to transmit the data. As the others prepared for their final moments, he offered a small smile. I'll keep watch until the end, he said. Make sure everything gets through. You're a good man, Ethan, Liam replied, clasping his shoulder firmly. Thank you. With the transmission complete, the crew gathered for one final act of solidarity. They linked arms, forming a circle in the center of the command center. No words were needed. The connection between them was enough. Together, they watched as the ship's systems flickered and faded, plunging them into darkness. In those last moments, memories flooded their minds. Images of Earth, of family and friends, of laughter and love. They thought of the world they had saved, of the generations yet to come who would never know their names but would benefit from their sacrifice. And they took comfort in knowing that their story would live on, passed down through history as a testament to human courage and resilience. Far away on Earth, the signal reached its destination. Scientists and leaders listened intently as the crew's voices filled the room, recounting their triumph and expressing their hopes for the future. Tears flowed freely as the magnitude of their achievement sank in. Humanity had stared into the abyss and emerged victorious, not through brute force but through ingenuity, determination, and unwavering belief in the impossible. Monuments were erected in memory of the Odyssey's crew, their names etched into plaques and statues across the globe. Schools taught their story as an example of what could be achieved when people came together for a common cause. Artists painted murals depicting the ship's final stand, capturing the spirit of hope and sacrifice that defined their mission. And beyond Earth, the Caliph fulfilled their promise to honor humanity's bravery. They traveled the galaxy, sharing tales of the species that dared to confront the impossible. and succeeded. Civilizations marveled at the audacity of humans, creatures so fragile yet boundless in spirit. The Odyssey's legacy spread far and wide, inspiring countless others to believe that even in the face of overwhelming odds, anything was possible. Though the ship was gone, its story endured, a beacon of hope reminding all who heard it that only humans believed it was possible, and they succeeded. The transmission from the Odyssey reached Earth like a whisper across the stars. It carried not just data and technical reports, but the voices of 12 individuals who had given everything to save humanity. Scientists, leaders, and ordinary citizens listened in stunned silence as the crew recounted their journey, the challenges they faced, the sacrifices they made, and the ultimate triumph that ensured Earth's survival. By the time the signal faded into static, tears streamed down countless faces. The weight of what the Odyssey's crew had done settled over the planet like a warm blanket, wrapping humanity in gratitude and awe. In the days that followed, the world came together in a way it hadn't in decades. Governments set aside differences to honor the fallen heroes. Memorials sprang up in cities around the globe, each one bearing the names of the crew members: Rachel Carter, Liam Harper, Sarah Brooks, Daniel Hayes, Ethan Cole, Emily Dawson, and the others whose bravery had saved billions. Schools held assemblies where teachers told the story of the Odyssey, emphasizing themes of teamwork, courage, and hope. Artists painted murals depicting the ship surrounded by swirling galaxies, its lights shining brightly against the darkness of space. Musicians composed songs that celebrated the crew's sacrifice, melodies filled with both sorrow and pride. For Rachel's family, the loss was especially painful. Her younger brother Michael spent hours staring at her picture, remembering how she used to explain the mysteries of the universe to him when they were kids. "She always said we could do anything if we worked hard enough," he told reporters during an interview. "I guess she proved that." Though grief weighed heavily on him, Michael found comfort in knowing that his sister's legacy would inspire future generations. Liam Harper's wife, Claire, struggled to come to terms with his death. They had planned to retire together after the mission, traveling the world and spending time with their grandchildren. Instead, she found herself standing before crowds, sharing stories about the man who had dedicated his life to exploration and leadership. "He believed in humanity's potential," she said during a speech at a memorial service. "Even when things seemed hopeless, he never stopped believing." Sarah Brooks's children wrote letters to their mother, which were later published in newspapers worldwide. "Thank you for saving us," one read. "We miss you so much, but we're proud of what you did." These words touched hearts everywhere, reminding people that behind every hero was a family who loved them deeply. Meanwhile, the scientific community pored over the data sent back by the Odyssey. Engineers studied the schematics of the Singularity generator, marveling at its ingenuity. Astrophysicists analyzed the readings from the black hole's collapse, gaining new insights into gravitational phenomena. The knowledge provided by the crew paved the way for advancements in space travel and energy manipulation, ensuring that their sacrifice would benefit humanity for centuries to come. But perhaps the most profound impact of the Odyssey's mission wasn't technological, it was emotional. People began to see themselves differently. Before the crisis, humanity had been divided by borders, ideologies, and conflicts. Now, united by the memory of the crew, they realized how much stronger they were when they worked together. Acts of kindness spread like wildfire. Neighbors helped neighbors. Strangers offered support to those in need. A renewed sense of purpose swept across the globe, driven by the belief that no challenge was too great if approached with determination and unity. Far beyond Earth, the Caliph continued their mission to share the story of the Odyssey. Aaron and his people traveled from star system to star system, recounting the tale of the fragile yet fearless species that had defied the odds. At first, many alien civilizations dismissed the story as exaggerated or overly sentimental, but as the Caliph presented evidence, recordings of the crew's transmissions, images of the black hole's collapse, and detailed accounts of their interactions with humanity, the skepticism gave way to admiration. "They are unlike any other beings we have encountered," Aaron explained during a Galactic Council meeting. Their bodies are weak, their lifespans short, and yet they possess an unshakable belief in their ability to overcome adversity. We underestimated them, and for that, we are humbled. The Kaleth's efforts sparked a wave of curiosity about humanity. Alien scholars studied human history, culture, and philosophy, seeking to understand what made them so unique. Some even ventured to Earth, eager to meet the species that had inspired such reverence. Though communication barriers existed, gestures of goodwill bridged the gap. Gifts were exchanged, artifacts from distant worlds in return for books, music, and works of art created by humans. Slowly, humanity began to take its place among the stars, not as conquerors or competitors but as partners in a shared journey of discovery. Back on Earth, life slowly returned to normal, or as close to normal as possible after such a monumental event. Children grew up hearing bedtime stories about the brave men and women of the Odyssey. Teenagers dreamed of becoming astronauts, scientists, or engineers, inspired by the idea that even the smallest actions could lead to extraordinary outcomes. Adults looked to the night sky with newfound wonder, reminded that somewhere out there, the legacy of the Odyssey lived on. Rachel's theories about gravitational anomalies became foundational principles in astrophysics. Textbooks featured her name prominently, alongside luminaries like Einstein and Hawking. Students learned about her groundbreaking work and the risks she took to test her ideas. In classrooms around the world, teachers emphasized the importance of thinking creatively and challenging conventional wisdom, a lesson embodied perfectly by Rachel's life and career. Liam Harper's leadership style also left a lasting impression. Military academies incorporated his strategies into training programs, highlighting the value of adaptability, clear communication, and trust in one's team. His decision to authorize risky modifications to the singularity generator became a case study in balancing caution with boldness. Sometimes, instructors told cadets, the hardest choices are the ones that save lives. Sarah Brooks's resourcefulness under pressure inspired a generation of engineers to push boundaries and innovate fearlessly. Her makeshift repairs, aboard the Odyssey, became legendary examples of problem-solving in extreme conditions. Young inventors often cited her as a role model, crediting her determination with helping them persevere through setbacks. And then there was Ethan Cole, whose quiet compassion had kept the crew grounded during their darkest moments. Medical schools introduced courses on psychological resilience, using Ethan's methods as a framework for supporting patients and colleagues alike. His belief that mental health was just as important as physical health resonated deeply, leading to reforms in healthcare systems worldwide. As years passed, the Odyssey itself became more than just a memory. It became a symbol. When faced with daunting challenges, people drew strength from its story, repeating the phrase that had come to define humanity's spirit. Only humans believed it was possible, and they succeeded. Even in the vast emptiness of space, the Odyssey's final resting place served as a reminder of that spirit. Though the ship had long since gone dark, its wreckage remained suspended in the void, a silent testament to the courage of those who had dared to dream. And though no one would ever visit it, the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter in its honor. Humanity moved forward, carrying the lessons of the Odyssey with them. They built better ships, explored farther reaches of the galaxy, and forged alliances with alien species. Yet no matter how far they traveled or how advanced their technology became, they never forgot the fragile vessel that had proven the impossible could be achieved, not through superior strength or intellect, but through hope, unity, and an unyielding belief in themselves. Because in the end, it wasn't the tools or machines that defined humanity. It was the dreamers who refused to give up, the believers who stood tall in the face of despair, and the heroes who showed the universe that only humans believed it was possible, and they succeeded. Years had passed since the Odyssey vanished into the void, but its story continued to shape humanity in profound ways. The crew's sacrifice became a cornerstone of global culture, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope could light the way forward. Earth flourished once more, free from the shadow of annihilation. New technologies emerged, inspired by the innovations of the Odyssey, and space exploration entered a golden age. Humanity reached farther than ever before, driven by the belief that no challenge was insurmountable. The first major breakthrough came when scientists successfully replicated the singularity generator's core principles. Though scaled down for safety, these devices revolutionized energy production on Earth. Cities powered by controlled gravitational fields replaced traditional power plants, reducing reliance on fossil fuels and reversing decades of environmental damage. The skies cleared, oceans healed, and ecosystems began to recover. For the first time in centuries, the planet felt alive again. Space travel also advanced rapidly. Engineers designed new spacecraft capable of withstanding extreme conditions, drawing inspiration from the Odyssey's modifications. These ships carried explorers to distant moons and planets, uncovering resources and knowledge that transformed human understanding of the universe. Colonies sprang up on Mars and beyond, each one bearing monuments to the Odyssey's crew. "We stand on their shoulders," settlers often said, acknowledging the debt they owed to those who had paved the way. But it wasn't just technology that changed. It was people. The unity sparked by the Odyssey's mission endured, fostering cooperation across nations and cultures. Conflicts that once seemed irresolvable found peaceful resolutions as leaders embraced the lessons of teamwork and perseverance. Education systems emphasized creativity and problem-solving, encouraging students to think like Rachel Carter or act with the bravery of Liam Harper. The phrase "only humans believed it was possible, and they succeeded" became a rallying cry for anyone facing adversity. In the scientific community, Rachel's name became synonymous with brilliance and determination. Her theories about gravitational manipulation formed the foundation of modern astrophysics, while her unorthodox approach inspired countless researchers to question established norms. Universities named scholarships and research grants after her, ensuring her legacy would live on through future generations. Young scientists dreamed of following in her footsteps, driven by the belief that even the wildest ideas could change the world. Liam Harper's leadership style left an equally lasting impact. Military and civilian organizations adopted his methods, emphasizing adaptability, trust, and clear communication. His decision to authorize risky modifications to the singularity generator became a case study in balancing pragmatism with boldness. Leaders around the globe cited him as proof that courage and compassion could coexist, inspiring others to make difficult choices for the greater good. Sarah Brooks's ingenuity under pressure set a new standard for engineering excellence. Her ability to improvise solutions with limited resources taught engineers the value of creativity and resilience. Workshops and conferences honored her memory, showcasing projects inspired by her work aboard the Odyssey. Students learned that sometimes the simplest fixes, like rerouting power lines or tightening a connection, could have the biggest impact. Ethan Cole's focus on mental health reshaped how society viewed well-being. His efforts to keep the crew grounded during their final days highlighted the importance of emotional support in high-stakes situations. Mental health programs expanded globally, offering counseling and resources to individuals and communities alike. Ethan's belief that caring for the mind was as vital as caring for the body became a guiding principle in healthcare reform. Even Emily Dawson, whose quiet dedication had been overshadowed by louder voices, found recognition posthumously. Her meticulous attention to detail and willingness to assist wherever needed reminded people of the power of humility and teamwork. Schools introduced awards in her name, celebrating students who demonstrated similar qualities. Her story proved that greatness didn't always come from standing out. It often came from standing together. Beyond Earth, the Caliph fulfilled their vow to honor the Odyssey's crew. They traveled tirelessly, sharing humanity's story, with civilizations across the galaxy. At first, many species remained skeptical, unable to comprehend why such fragile beings would risk everything for the sake of others. But as the Caliph recounted the mission's details, the sacrifices, the ingenuity, the sheer audacity of believing they could succeed. Attitudes shifted. Alien scholars studied human history, marveling at how a species so young and vulnerable had achieved so much. Some civilizations sought alliances with Earth, eager to learn from humanity's example. Others sent emissaries to observe firsthand the planet's recovery and progress. Trade routes opened, cultural exchanges flourished, and mutual respect grew between humans and their galactic neighbors. The Kalith themselves became advocates for peace, citing humanity's unity as proof that cooperation yielded far greater rewards than conflict. Back on Earth, monuments to the Odyssey dotted the landscape. In New York City, a towering statue of the ship stood in Central Park, its surface engraved with quotes from the crew's final transmission. Visitors left flowers and notes at its base, expressing gratitude for the lives saved and inspiration drawn from their story. Similar tributes appeared in London, Tokyo, Nairobi, and Sydney, each one unique yet united by the same message. Humanity's greatest strength lay not in its tools or weapons, but in its spirit. Children grew up hearing bedtime stories about the brave men and women of the Odyssey. Teachers used their mission as a lesson in perseverance, showing students how teamwork and innovation could overcome even the most daunting challenges. Museums dedicated entire exhibits to the crew, displaying artifacts recovered from simulations and prototypes built during the mission's planning stages. Interactive displays allowed visitors to experience what life aboard the Odyssey might have been like, immersing them in the tension and triumph of those final days. For Michael Carter, Rachel's younger brother, the years brought both healing and purpose. He devoted his life to promoting STEM education, founding a nonprofit organization that encouraged underprivileged youth to pursue careers in science and engineering. Rachel taught me that anything is possible if you believe in yourself, he told audiences during speaking engagements. I want every child to feel that same sense of possibility. Claire Harper, Liam's widow, found solace in preserving his memory. She wrote a memoir detailing their life together and the pride she felt watching him lead the Odyssey's crew. The book became a bestseller, resonating with readers who admired Liam's unwavering commitment to doing what was right. Claire used the proceeds to fund scholarships for aspiring astronauts and military officers, ensuring her husband's values lived on in the next generation. As the decades passed, humanity's reach extended deeper into the cosmos. Explorers discovered new worlds, encountered alien species, and uncovered mysteries that challenged their understanding of existence. Yet no matter how far they ventured, the Odyssey remained a touchstone, a reminder of where they had come from and what they were capable of achieving. In the end, the true legacy of the Odyssey wasn't written in stone or etched in metal. It was woven into the fabric of human identity, a testament to the boundless potential of a species that refused to give up. When faced with the impossible, they chose to believe, and in doing so, they proved that only humans believed it was possible, and they succeeded. Centuries passed and humanity's reach stretched across the stars. The Odyssey's story became more than history. It became legend. It was told in classrooms on distant colonies, sung in songs aboard interstellar ships, and whispered among alien civilizations who marveled at the species that had defied the void. Though the ship itself was long gone, its legacy endured as a beacon of hope, reminding all who heard it that courage and unity could overcome even the greatest challenges. Earth thrived in ways no one could have imagined. Once scarred by pollution and conflict, the planet transformed into a paradise of green landscapes and thriving ecosystems. New technologies powered by controlled gravitational fields eliminated poverty and hunger, allowing people to focus on creativity, exploration, and understanding. Cities floated above oceans, and domed habitats flourished in harsh environments like deserts and polar regions. Humanity's success wasn't just measured in technological advancements, but in the way people treated each other, with kindness, respect, and a shared sense of purpose. Space exploration reached heights the crew of the Odyssey could never have dreamed of. Massive ships carried settlers to habitable planets light years away, creating new homes for billions. These colonies didn't just replicate Earth, They built upon its lessons, crafting societies that valued diversity, cooperation, and innovation. Each world bore monuments to the Odyssey, from towering statues to quiet gardens where visitors reflected on the sacrifices made for their freedom. The phrase "only humans believed it was possible, and they succeeded" echoed through these settlements, inspiring generations to dream bigger and aim higher. The Kalith remained steadfast allies, their bond with humanity growing stronger over time. They shared knowledge, resources, and stories, bridging the gap between two vastly different species. Alien scholars studied human culture, fascinated by the blend of fragility and resilience that defined them. Some civilizations adopted aspects of human philosophy, incorporating ideas about hope, determination, and sacrifice into their own belief systems. Others sent delegations to Earth, eager to witness firsthand the planet that had birthed such extraordinary beings. Rachel Carter's name became immortalized not just on Earth but throughout the galaxy. Planets, moons, and even stars were named in her honor, celebrating the woman whose theories had saved humanity. Schools taught her story alongside those of history's greatest thinkers, emphasizing how she had dared to challenge conventional wisdom and pursue the impossible. Her portrait hung in institutions around the universe, a symbol of what could be achieved when curiosity met courage. Liam Harper's leadership inspired leaders across countless worlds. His ability to unite people under a common cause became a model for governance both on Earth and beyond. Diplomats invoked his name during negotiations, reminding others that compromise and collaboration led to greater victories than stubbornness or division. Statues of Liam stood in public squares, depicting him gazing toward the stars, a reminder of the man who had guided humanity through its darkest hour. Sarah Brooks's ingenuity left an indelible mark on engineering and problem-solving. Future generations of technicians and inventors credited her with teaching them the value of adaptability and resourcefulness. Competitions bearing her name challenged participants to solve complex problems using limited materials, fostering a spirit of innovation that drove progress in every field. Her memory lived on in the tools and machines that shaped daily life, each one a testament to her skill and determination. Ethan Cole's compassion reshaped how society viewed mental health and well-being. Programs he had championed spread to colonies and alien worlds, promoting emotional resilience and empathy. Leaders recognized that physical strength meant little without mental fortitude, and Ethan's example reminded them to care for the whole person, not just their body but their mind and spirit as well. Hospitals and clinics dedicated wings to his memory, offering free services to anyone in need. Even Emily Dawson, whose contributions might have been overlooked in the chaos of the mission, found lasting recognition. Her quiet dedication inspired movements focused on teamwork and humility. Awards named after her celebrated individuals who worked tirelessly behind the scenes, proving that greatness often came from supporting others rather than seeking the spotlight. Her story showed that heroism wasn't always loud. It could be gentle, steady, and selfless. As humanity expanded, so did its understanding of the universe. Explorers discovered ancient ruins on distant planets, hinting at civilizations that had risen and fallen long before Earth existed. Scientists unraveled mysteries of time, space, and consciousness, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. Yet, amid these discoveries, the Odyssey remained a touchstone, a reminder of where humanity had started and how far it had come. One day, explorers stumbled upon something extraordinary, a fragment of the Odyssey, drifting silently in the void. Time and radiation had worn it down, but its identity was unmistakable. The discovery sparked a wave of emotion across the galaxy. Engineers restored the piece, preserving it in a museum orbiting Earth. Visitors gazed at it in awe, imagining the bravery of those aboard the ship. For many, it was a chance to connect with the past and honor the heroes who had paved the way for their future. The Kalith played a pivotal role in ensuring the Odyssey's legacy endured. They composed epic tales of the mission, blending fact with myth to create stories that resonated across cultures. Their art depicted the crew as larger-than-life figures, embodying ideals of courage, sacrifice, and hope. When asked why they invested so much effort into sharing humanity's story, Aaron replied simply, "Because your triumph reminds us of what we lost and what we can regain." In the end, the true measure of the Odyssey's impact wasn't in the monuments or accolades. It was in the way humanity carried forward the lessons of its crew. Every colony founded, every scientific breakthrough achieved, and every act of kindness performed was a reflection of their spirit. People looked to the stars not with fear but with wonder, knowing that even the vast emptiness held possibilities waiting to be unlocked. And so, the story of the Odyssey lived on, not just as a tale of survival, but as a testament to the power of belief. When faced with the impossible, humanity had chosen to stand together, to fight for a brighter future, and to prove that hope could conquer despair. Across galaxies, civilizations remembered the fragile yet fearless species that had stared into the abyss and emerged victorious. For in the hearts of all who heard its story, the truth remained unchanged. Only humans believed it was possible, and they succeeded.